You've reached Conversation with Mr. A. This is your host, Anthony Apostilla. Thank you for listening. Let's get right to the episode. Welcome to another edition of Conversations with Mr. A. This is your host, Anthony Apostilla. And for this episode, I have Dr. Krissy Bellido Zakel from Progressive. Thank you, Krissy, for being part of this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Krissy, can you explain to our listeners what your role is? It's my understanding that you're an executive for Progressive, and can you explain to our listeners what you do?
Yeah, so I work in national accounts, so under the agency distribution channel of Progressive. I am a senior marketing executive at Progressive. Essentially, I work with our largest partners to just funnel business in various ways. So kind of think of me as the liaison between our large national partners and our organization at Progressive. We also work not just in the agency channel, so your mom and pop location, which is what we're primarily known for, independent agency. But in my particular area, working with national accounts, we work with other insurance companies like Liberty Mutual, for example, for accommodation business. We also work with home builders in the new home construction markets, mortgage lenders, title companies. We also work with digital accounts, non-standard auto accounts, for example. So we have pretty much an appetite for many various funnels. And we try to make business easy. And so that's where I come in. I'm able to do the B2B sales, business to business sales, and kind of help field those discussions and various layers of acquisition. I know it's a lot of fun terms out there, and I'm happy to expand if people have more questions.
Sure. Well, to start off with, I was going to ask, maybe for those who may not be familiar with Progressive, can you kind of explain to our listeners what Progressive is, for starters?
Yeah, absolutely. So Progressive Casualty is an insurance provider. So we are, if you've ever seen Flo on TV, that is a very recognizable person and our image for Progressive. So Progressive Insurance, we are in the market pretty much for all auto. That's primarily what Progressive is known for, auto insurance. We also provide property insurance, so your standard homeowners insurance, for example, countrywide. We also offer commercial lines insurance, so we write all sorts of trucking. We also write small business owner policies in select areas, and we're starting to dabble in life insurance. So we're expanding our appetite for sure and exploring other things like pet insurance, for example. So very exciting times to see how we continue to expand our footprint in the insurance industry.
Nice. I'm just curious, how did you work your way up to your position? I'm assuming you had to go through school a little bit, and you went through some different job positions as well.
Yeah, so funny enough, I actually started at Progressive in 2012. I was in my senior year of my undergrad. I was working as, believe it or not, a nanny during
Oh,
my undergrad. Yeah, so it was really tough for me. I was in the job market during a recession, so I was competing with individuals that had master's degrees, even just trying to get a job at Olive Garden. It was really difficult. So I was in my senior year at the University of South Florida in Tampa Bay, and I just started looking for opportunities. And my sister, Maria Cifuentes, actually was working at a small insurance carrier called ASI, American Strategic Insurance. And that's actually how I got my foot in the door into the organization. So I immediately fell in love with the company culture, the people, and started noticing really quickly that you can make a career out of the insurance industry. So I stuck with it. I actually became really close friends with the VP of marketing. It was funny. We have open door policy. So one of the days we were there, the electricity actually went out, like the power went out. It's a really
Oh
funny story.
no.
Yeah, it happened all the time because we were in a really small rinky-dink office at the time. And it's very questionable how we were so successful, to be completely honest. I think we were so expense conscious that sometimes we would probably look the other way on things that really needed attention, like electricity. So, so the electricity went out. All joking aside, I went ahead and I knocked on the VP of Marketing's door, and I just said, "Hey, we are completely offline, so do you have a few minutes to chat?" And he's like, "Absolutely, take a seat." And I just told him, mind you, I was a customer service representative at the time, working in billing, very basic. I was probably there maybe 6 months. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, what would it take to be a marketing representative of this organization?" And I think he was taken aback by that because he just straight up asked me, like, "Didn't you just start working here?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I was
I love
like,
it. You went right
yeah,
into it.
I
Was
sure
it
did." Go ahead.
was it intimidating though? I mean, the within the first week to even go up to the VP, did you feel a little bit of nervousness a little bit at first or
I think, well, I had established myself there a little bit, and at the time I was mentioning, so this company was very small. It was ASI, so it was not like I'm going to the VP of, like, the executive vice president of Progressive Insurance. It's like a multi-billion-dollar organization, right? So we were a lot smaller then. There was maybe a little over 200 employees. So I felt very comfortable because, like I mentioned before, the company culture was such that you could go anywhere at any time and just have an open-ended conversation. So I felt very comfortable and fortunate to have had the comfort level to go into his office that day. And I'm so glad I did because he took me seriously. And then we came up with like this mentorship, if you will. So essentially, what he did is he kind of paved a roadmap for me. He's like, "Hey, if this is really what you want to do, I can help you get there, but you need to like take the lead." And so I would suggest maybe dabbling into underwriting or being an independent agent and learning what it is that we sell, what it is that we do, how claims works, how the underwriting risk assessment works, and maybe going into sales and so on and so forth. And so I did just that. I took his plan and I went into underwriting, really loved it because that helped me evaluate the risks that were coming into the door. Also, during this time at ASI, it was a property only insurance provider. So I didn't have much experience with auto or commercial lines or anything like that. Um, so I was just primarily driven there. We were regionally focused. So in the Southeast, I'm here in Tampa Bay still. And it was exciting because we started hearing the buzz of Progressive. And flash forward to 2016, there was an opportunity um, to actually get into the inside sales team. And during this time, I was transitioning over into sales, but then also I was pursuing my master's in marketing at St. Leo University. So I thought, hey, this is cool because I knew this was the track I always wanted to be in. And so I went ahead and started in the inside sales org. And from there, I was able to apply what I learned in underwriting and what I was learning in school to my day to day. And what made it really interesting is now I was on the opposite side. So, working in inside sales, now I understood like examples of complaints that agents had, like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hard to place business," or "Why do you not accept this?" or "Why do you do that?" And so it was cool because I was able to see it come full circle. And then there was an opportunity finally that there was a territory manager position in Florida that was in my backyard. And I thought, hey, I've been doing this for a couple years now. Let me see if they'll hire me for an actual, marketing representative position. And they did, and I was so excited. So I was able to engage with our independent agents, our mom and pop shops, and during this time, this is in about 2017. Yep. So I was there for about a year. And that's when we actually merged and were acquired by Progressive. So that's how I ended up in and progressive overall, which is really exciting. And then now I had a plethora of things to talk about. So it just wasn't property anymore. It was auto, it was recreational lines, it was commercial lines. And in Florida, we have all of those things in the market. So it made for a really interesting time. And because I don't like sleep, I decided, you know what? I am done with my master's. I'm going to go pursue my doctorate.
Oh,
So,
wow. Bless your
yeah.
heart. Bless your heart.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask, so was
sure.
the transition, so when you merged with Progressive, um I would imagine, did you face some challenges along the way? Because I would
Oh,
imagine from a
yeah.
smaller thing to a bigger thing, uh,
Hmm.
it had to be a bit of a transition for you.
It was, I think there was a lot of hesitancy working through a merger acquisition or a buy sell, as it's commonly known, can be a little daunting for the business that's being acquired because oftentimes you hear of M&As happening where, the larger company comes over, they take over and they just eliminate positions altogether, or, they just start from scratch, or, there's a lot of uncertainty there, but the thing that I absolutely love, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, is the company and the culture were so similar to what I had already experienced at ASI. So I actually felt very comfortable with the change, although it was really concerning because you're like, this organization is based out of Cleveland, Ohio. Am I going to have to relocate? And the answer was no. In fact, they hosted like so many town hall discussions. The CEO of Progressive came regularly. And the same philosophy, open door policy. If you ever had a question, you could actually go and speak to the CEO herself about how you were feeling and what questions you had. And I can tell you, now having been part of Progressive now, about 8 years since we've been acquired. It has been just that. In fact, Trisha Griffith, the CEO of Progressive, actually wrote me a card. And that, I mean, I don't know about many Fortune 100 company CEOs that go out of their way to write a little card to a peanut like me that works at
I
Progressive.
wouldn't call you a peanut.
But I just laugh. I just laugh all the time.
uh,
We're all
yeah.
part of the snack mix, Anthony. We're all part of the snack mix, so we all have some kind of flavor to add. So
Oh, I
we
like
all
that
matter.
analogy.
Yeah, we all have something to add. So yeah, it was a little intimidating, but at the same time, I was younger then, so I saw that as a huge opportunity for me because again, flashback to when I first entered the workforce, it was a recession. There were not many opportunities there. So to have had this kind of land in my lap, I was like, absolutely, I'm going to embrace this change and I'm just going to use it to my advantage and learn. And that's what I did. And so I learned the progressive way, which is very similar to the culture that I had experienced before. And at this time, it was also really exciting because like I said, I was going for my doctorate, and my doctorate is in business, specifically executive management. And during this time, when I was in the field in Florida, in the field meaning like interacting with these independent agents, something that I was noticing like a common theme was like this franchise model. So similar to like a Chick-fil-A where, you have your corporate Chick-fil-A headquarters, right? But then you can go to any place in the country, you'll see a Chick-fil-A on the corner, but they're all locally owned and operated, but they still have company corporate strategy, right? So they have to embrace the rules that they have from a corporate level, but then they're also able to kind of make their local franchise their own. And so why I say that is because there are many franchise models out there, so distributions that are a little bit different. Um, so, like one big conglomerate in Florida is We Insure. There's also Brightway Insurance. There's Goosehead, and these particular franchise models are locally owned and operated, but they have the logo, so people identify with them and they go into these offices. But the way that they do business is a little bit different because they have an 800 number versus like your local agent. So I found that really fascinating and started thinking about like the CEO mindset. And during this time, I was working with my regional sales manager, and he was like, "Hey, if this is something that interests you, maybe you should consider national accounts." And so, luckily, there was an opening. I went ahead and applied, and the rest is history. So I went and I applied back in 2018, and I started the following March, so March of 2019, and it was really exciting. So during that time, I got immersed in the national account space, and I saw that basically what I've learned from every single one of my roles, I was able to apply on a grander scale. And it also correlated very much with what I was learning in school. So I could have conversations with other CEOs or VPs or regional managers and thinking through corporate strategy and then how to disseminate that information on a local level. So I say that all to say that like every position mattered. I learned so much from every single aspect of my job. And and it's funny to think like my goal was to just be a marketing representative progressive, but it's so much more than that. In fact, you don't realize this, but in insurance, there's so many webs that flow from it. So let's say you have an accounting degree, you could work in finance, for example, or you're a strategist, you can work in our strategy department, or um, you're an actuary, you can work in product and pricing. You work with claims. Like there's so many different avenues. IT, for example, there's so much that's there that you don't think about. But I would really encourage folks that are kind of considering a career path that insurance is actually recession proof. I can say that because I've lived it.
That's
But
cool.
also that it's very stable and you learn every single day for sure.
Wow, I have to admit, I think you beat me to this question because I was gonna ask, especially some we have some younger listeners, some students, high school students,
Sure.
college students, and I was gonna ask, the question I was gonna ask is what advice would you give for those students who they aspire to reach, you know, that quote unquote corporate level someday? What advice would you give to high school students and maybe students in college who might be thinking about that career in insurance? What are some of the biggest key tips you would tell them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely do it. Understand that, and I had this in my mind, right? I told my story. I was 6 months deep into my career path in insurance, not knowing hardly anything about the subject, but going to the VP of marketing is like, hey, I'm going to be a marketing rep one day. How do I get there? Um, so don't suggest that. But what I do suggest is finding a mentor. If you get your foot in the door, right, understand that you have to work hard to get to where you want to be. And sometimes we don't always know what that is when we first enter into a career path, and that's okay. It's okay to learn and grow. But I would highly suggest finding mentors because if you want to be something and you see someone doing that, I will tell you more often than not, people are willing to help. You just have to put in the work and apply yourself. And that's been my success in my career path is I know that I don't know. I am inquisitive, so I question by nature because I don't know. I collaborate because I know I can't do things on my own. I challenge because I know that sometimes I may have a bias. And so I want to make sure that I'm thinking objectively when I look into a situation. So I think it's really important to have centers of influence and mentors that you can lean on and make you successful.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I forgot to ask this question a little bit early on, but I would imagine working in Progressive, you must have some encounters with difficult customers, or maybe,
Oh, yeah.
or maybe, or I can imagine, or even, or even sometimes you probably have some encounters with, you know, people you work with or in your team. I was
Yeah.
just gonna ask, how do you deal with those people, whether it's difficult customers or difficult coworkers?
Yeah, that's a loaded question there, buddy.
No. Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I am I am very thankful to have the ability to like think through situations like that. So, and I can tell you, no one's perfect in this space, right? But we need to be able to celebrate disagreements. And what I've learned is having a lot of empathy. Because oftentimes when there's a conflict or maybe a disagreement, there may be a miscommunication that's happening. So, what I always try to find out is what's really the root of the issue here. So if I have had, which I've had, I've had on various levels, right? If I wanted to take it down to like a customer service level, I've had irate customers calling in, cussing up a storm, and you're just like, hold on. And oftentimes, maybe they're just having a bad day. You're the person that just happened to pick up the phone and they're just unloading on you. And that's okay. That's okay. You just got to take it off, brush it off, and move on. But in other aspects, right? If I'm dealing with a difficult customer and I would say like an associate or a business partner, oftentimes when they have an issue or a conflict or we don't agree on something, it's much larger than just the conversation we're having. So I take a step back and I think through, okay, help me understand, why is this a problem? Just understanding and asking why. And I think just having an open, fluid conversation about the root cause will help you to understand that it's really not just you or this person that's making it difficult. It's bigger than that. So it's not about getting flustered and frustrated right away. I know no one's perfect, but it's just, again, meeting people where they are and understanding what's the larger issue.
Impressive and impressive. Another thing I was going to ask you, I know you mentioned this earlier. You mentioned that, okay, sleep is kind of, what is sleep, but
Oh,
how,
yeah.
how, how do you balance it between your personal life and professional life? Like, how do you actually have a life?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I'll tell you what, kids, you'll never really figure it out. I will say this, and I'm a believer in God. I am a strong believer in keeping faith at the center of everything. And I think it's very important also to have the balance between your home life and work life. But I think of it as a triangle. If any one of those are not balanced, it's going to tip over. It's just going to tip over. So I think for me, it's always understanding, life happens. In fact, it's happened a lot for me lately in my personal life. And I have to just put the faith that it'll be okay. And I'm actually pretty transparent. So, what I love again about my particular career path is that in my job, in my profession, the people are why I stay at Progressive in the culture. And they have an internal motto, philosophy is like move forward, live fully, um, come as you are, like bring your whole self to work. And they're actually their golden rule. That's part of our core values is treat others the way you want to be treated. And so what I love about that is in every single aspect of my career, if I've ran into a personal issue or even now earlier in this year with my in-laws, I've been able to lean on my support system at work and share with them without getting into too many details, but like, hey, I may not be able to commit 100% of my time to this project. Is it okay if someone else takes the lead? Or how else can I support you? And just take a step back, and that's okay. You can't be everywhere all at once. You can't be everything all at once. And so it's really important to make sure that you remain humble and you understand that there's other people that are always willing to help. So that's my 2 cents.
Very wise words. Very wise words. Okay, so Chrissy, let's have some fun with this. This
Sure.
is going to be on random topics. It's called word association. So this is just kind of more fun off the cuff. I'm gonna give you maybe one, two, maybe three words, and just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Um, so one of the things, it's a running joke here with the podcast history, is my absolutely despicable hatred for pickles. And so I'll go
Oh,
with the
I don't
first
like
word is
pickles
pickles.
either. I
Oh, I
hate
love it.
pickles.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Oh,
Gross.
you're already one of my favorite guests already, just by that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
yucky.
best cell phone service.
Best cell phone service? Um, ATT, that's what I use now.
Okay. Favorite food?
Ooh, seafood for sure.
I like that. I like that. Country music.
No.
Wow, definitively. Woo! All right, okay. That's fine. Rap music.
Oh, okay. I gotta go 90s hip hop here. That's my era. That's my jam.
Okay. How about hard rock alternative music?
I love alternative for sure. Like, hard rock, so-so, it depends. If it starts getting into metal, it's a little of a no for me, but I love alternative, definitely.
Okay. Barbie.
I love Barbie. That's what I grew up playing with.
Fast and the Furious.
Oh, how many movies are they gonna make of that thing?
A lot. I think they're finally done. I don't know,
It's
but
like it keeps going. It's gonna be Fast and Furious 20, watch.
wouldn't surprise me. Oh, how about this one? Bad hygiene.
Bad hygiene. Ooh. I go to the gym a lot, so I can't stand body odor. Just please put deodorant on. It's
I
just-
love it. Rude people.
this one has been an ongoing learning experience for me. As I get older, I realize everyone has a bad day and you don't know what people are going through, so always be kind. So rude
Fair,
people, be kind.
fair. Horror movies.
No, mm-mm, cannot do.
No worries, no worries. Chick flicks.
Chick flicks? Oh, it depends. I like rom-coms. I guess that's a chick flick. Like
Okay.
rom-coms.
How about The Notebook?
Oh my gosh, classic. Love it. My husband's never watched it. I can't believe I'm gonna force him to watch it actually now that we talked about it.
I can't judge him. I can't judge him. How about action movies?
I do like a good action movie. They're fun. I think they're fun, sometimes comical.
Okay. MMA or pro wrestling?
Oof, neither.
Okay, I won't judge you on that either. No worries. Oh, Puerto Rico.
Ah, my homeland. I love Puerto Rico and delicious food.
Yes. One of the best. Cold weather.
No me gusta. I do not like cold weather. Nope. I'm tropical.
I was gonna. Let's reverse it. I was gonna say hot weather.
I love hot weather. I rather melt than freeze.
Okay. How about sports cars?
I like a sports car. They're fun.
Okay. How about an old beat up pickup truck?
Those things are legends, right? So like you need to go pick up something from the store. That's the one you use. It's okay because it's already beat up, so you don't have to worry about keeping it pretty. In fact, my husband and I keep talking about buying one just for that reason because there's always a house project. So,
How about one more? Social media.
social media, limit usage. Too much of that is not a good thing.
Yes, yes, that is very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Okay, lastly, any final words that you like to tell our listeners?
I have to say this has been a lot of fun. I think it's really cool that you're able to highlight various industries out there, different professions, and the fact that everyone has something to add. Something that I just like to remind the listeners here is that you matter, and everything that we do in this world matters. And regardless of the profession that you have, you matter, and your work matters. And so, I may say, oh, yeah, I have a doctorate degree, but we still need a lot of folks in trade industries. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I always kick myself in the butt that I didn't get a cosmetology license when I could have in high school. That would have actually really saved me in the recession area where I could have had a trade that I could have fell back on. whether it was doing nails or hair, and I just never took that opportunity. So I'd always remind people, like, it's okay if you're working retail. It's okay if you're working a trade. And it's okay if you're working a corporate job. And it's okay if you want to be an entrepreneur. But just always put your best foot forward, apply yourself in every aspect, and lean on your support system, and you'll never go wrong.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much, Krissy, for your time. I really appreciate having you do this interview today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have been here. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Krissy Bellido Zakel, for a wonderful, wonderful interview. Thank you so much, Krissy, for just sharing your insights, just not only with Progressive, but just with life in general. And there's just a lot of stuff that you said that really touched me, and I hope that what you said was able to reach our listeners as well. So thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode. Stay tuned. We will have more future episodes in the future. Take care.